Thank you very much. So at this moment, let's call to order the December 9th, 2021 meeting of the Newberg Planning Commission and start things off with a roll call.
Okay, Jason Dale,
Here.
Charles Aben,
Here.
Chris Wright,
Here.
Sharon Capri,
Here.
Jeff Musall,
Here.
Hayden Gray.
Here.
I should note at this point, Mr. Chair, Jenna Morris has resigned from the commission.
Okay.
So that's why there's only 5 of you and our student commissioner. And for Aiden, the council just adopted new protocols for committees and commissions. And once that ordinance goes into effect, Aiden will be a voting member
I
of
saw
the
that.
planning commission.
Congratulations. Yeah.
And if I remember correctly, I have to wait 30 days before I can vote, right?
That's right.
Okay.
So that ordinance will go into effect on January 5th. So at our January meeting, you will be an official voting member. So applause. Yay.
There you go. Okay, so moving on, we'll first offer any public comments to anyone that's in the room that would like to make a comment, 5 minutes maximum, and it's to address items not on the agenda. Do we have anyone?
Chairman, there's nobody except the ones you see in front of you.
Well, thank you. So then let's move on to consent calendar and planning commission meeting minutes. Anyone want to address anything about the minutes, or just do we want to move on to approval?
Commissioner Wright to approve planning commission minutes for October 14th, 2021.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's November,
Good.
Okay, we have a-
November 11th meeting minutes.
I mean, yeah, I'm sorry.
There you go.
I am looking at the wrong date. Sorry.
So November 10th, 2021.
November. Oh man, really? Okay. Move to. I was further down the page and just saw that date, and of course read it. Planning Commissioner approval for minutes for November 10th, 2021. Planning Commission meeting.
Thank you very much. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and we'll just do voice vote. All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, that motion passes. So we'll move on to new business, and we're going to talk about a technical assistance grant, multifamily code audit. So at this point, I'll turn it over to staff.
So Mr. Chair, Mary Heberling Crichton will provide your presentation this evening, and I will join you in the audience role.
Doug is very excited about that. Okay, you can hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay, great. So as I said before, some of you all were here. Hopefully this will be short and sweet, but if you have questions and you want to go into it further, I'm always happy to go over it more. But I'm just going to provide a brief update of where we are with the technical assistance grant. And we're calling it the multifamily code audit update. So you can go to the next slide. So in October of this past year, so 2021, we applied for a technical assistance grant with the DLCD, Department of Land Conservation and Development, for a technical assistance grant for $50,000. And we found out end of November that we were awarded that grant, which is great. What that means though is now we have to do it. So we have a couple of objectives and goals and outcomes for this this project, and I'll go over those a little briefly. So the objective for the technical assistance grant we applied for was to meet the new state standards they have around what they call, and in quotes, needed housing. And the state defines needed housing as basically any type of housing. So there's really no caveats to what that means, but their state rulings basically say any needed housing must provide clear and objective standards in the land use code of a city. So we are almost there, but we're missing clear and objective standards for multifamily housing in our development code. We have clear and objective standards for single family homes. We now have clear and objective standards for our middle housing, which was just passed. So duplexes, triplexes, quads, cottage clusters, and townhomes. But we're missing the part in our development code where we have clear and objective standards for multifamily housing. So now that means any housing that is 5 and more units on a single lot. So what we'll plan to do, the outcome we plan to have for this project is twofold. It'll be one, we'll do an analysis and actual audit to the code to find out if we have any conflicts with the state statutes of needing to have clear and objective standards. So that'll be in both our comprehensive plan as well as our development code. So we'll make sure we're aware of where we're not meeting the standards or where there may be some conflict. And then after that, we'll have recommended amendments on how to recommend amendments on clear and objective standards for multifamily housing. What we're planning on doing, and this, my fancy graphic that I put on the right-hand side, is to kind of create a two-path system. So multifamily development would come in with a proposal, and they could either meet the clear and objective standards that we'll come up with, or they can go the discretionary route, meaning they want to go with a development that doesn't meet the standards. So therefore they have kind of more of a, they have to sort of prove that they can meet some discretionary standards that we have, where most likely you all in Planning Commission may be involved. Clear and objective, usually it's just the community development director that would make the final decision on that. I guess I can back up a little bit too on what clear and objective standards mean. Basically means standards that you can numerically get to pretty easily. If you think about it, a common clear and objective standard would be the front facade of a building must have 20% of it be windows. It's pretty easy to understand if a development is meeting that or not. So that's where it's clear and objective. Discretionary would be the front of facade of a house would have to show that they are providing enough light for the residents in it. And that can be kind of subjective, right? What is enough light? And so they would have to, the applicant would have to prove that they're meeting that intent of that discretionary standard. So that's the main difference there. It's very clear and objective, easy to understand how to meet something. So it's a lot easier for us as a city to approve projects like that because it's clear that they're meeting the standards. Discretionary is a little bit more subjective. Okay, next slide. So anticipated timeline. It's going to take about a year for us to go through this whole process. And the biggest thing that we want to bring up with you all in Planning Commission is we have you all set as the Citizen Advisory Committee for this project. So that means that you all will be pretty central in working on this project with us. What that means is that there may have to be additional times that we need to meet with Planning Commission beyond the regular Planning Commission monthly timeframes. We don't know that for sure yet, but it's just something to be aware of so that we can meet the deadlines for this project. So we'll start off, project kickoff, kind of going over the proposal, what we plan to do for the next year. In February through June, we'll do that technical analysis and code audit, understanding where things are missing in the code, where there's conflict. And then June through January of next year, we'll come up with those clear and objective standards and those discretionary standards, so that two-path system. And so you all will be able to help us with that as well. And then fingers crossed, we'll have it adopted by February of next year. So, like I said, it was pretty short and sweet, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you all may have about this.
Well, thank you very much. Are there any questions?
I just think I would add, Mr. Chair, is that as we go through this, we'll have a process of do outreach to the development community
Yes.
and some open house or virtual or ways that we can engage the community and the public as we develop all of these standards. We have identified Angelo Planning Group as the consulting firm that will assist us. And so we'll be working on the contract for that. We are working on our agreement with DLCD at this point in time. But as Mary said, until we kind of develop an official schedule and all that timeline based on those tasks, we may have some need for some additional meetings over the course of the next 14 months or so in order to get through all of this. One of the impetuses that got us here was we have been outreached to by the Fair Housing Council of Oregon on a number of occasions, identifying that we are not in compliance with ORS 307, ORS 197-307, I should say. So this will bring us into that compliance. And I think another big piece of this is, as Mary eloquently said, is that we've done the single family, duplex, triplex, quadplex, cottage cluster, townhome pieces of it. So this is kind of one of those last components to get to that needed housing and having clear and objective standards.
Very well. Yeah, so basically, will be like the funnel information will come in from developers and from the community. We'll kind of assimilate things in coordination with staff, and then you'll come up with a recommendation, basically.
Yes, but we'll also kind of be proposing code amendments, have you all give your take on it, and then, you know, revise as we hear from the development community, the regular community, and you'll kind of all be part of that. We'll revise it, bring it back to you. So it's a little bit more in depth than just a public hearing or things like that, but yeah.
Okay.
So one of the values is where in some of the other projects on the middle housing, you know, we did work sessions with you or joint work sessions with council and the planning commission, and then held the public hearings. Here you will be fully immersed, so we don't have to do those work session components. But Mary will need to do some work sessions with council to keep them up to speed where we're at as we go through the process.
Understood. Does anyone else have questions?
Yes, Commissioner Wright. I would like to know if we meet as CAC or CAC, if that will be on other days besides Tuesday or Thursday, or what days potentially those will be on, and how much notice we would get if we need to meet extra.
The intent, Commissioner, would be, if at all possible, we're going to try to have the information on your regular meeting night. Your fallback is the fourth Thursday of every month is the fallback position for an additional planning commission meeting. And so we'll try to keep that same schedule, given all the other things that we've got going on with commissions and committees, trying to bounce around to different days. So we're going to try to keep you to the first and fourth Thursday of every month.
Wonderful. Thank you. That's all the questions I have at this time.
All righty. Anyone else? questions, comments, concerns? Well, hearing none. Our next agenda is items from staff, and it looks like planning commission activities.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mary. Appreciate it. It was nice to be quiet for a while.
You're welcome.
Just a brief update. The annexation of the mill site and the bypass held its hearing on December 6th. We're going to come back for the second reading on that ordinance with City Council on December 20th. That would put the effective date of that ordinance on January 19th of 2022. As Mary mentioned, the council approved the middle housing ordinance on the 6th of December. And so that ordinance will go into effect on January 5th of 2022. There's still a bunch of follow-up stuff that we need to do on both of those cases with DLCD and the Department of Revenue for the annexation and some other stuff, but made a lot of good progress so far as we come to the close of 2021. Your forward-looking calendar of activities. So as a reminder, it's your January meeting, which is on the 13th. We may be in person and hybrid at the same time. It may be Zoom. We will let you know. So the city council is going back to in-person meetings, but with a new state law, we also have to do hybrid. So that would allow, in this case, commission members and or public to not be in physical attendance, but to be able to participate via electronic medium. And we use Zoom for that. So we're still working through some of the logistics of all of that. But you do have your election of your chair and your vice chair at your first meeting in January. So keep that in mind for those who want to consider if you want a more responsive, expanded role, or if you'd like to keep where you're at. We have a couple of vacation rental applications that we're working on. One of those may be on your January 13th meeting, and the other one that's on your list may actually move to your February meeting. And again, as we develop the schedule of meeting times and to deal with the code audit component, we'll work over the next 2 or 3 weeks to try to build that particular schedule, so you have some clarity on that. March is on the tentative schedule is comp plan amendments to address the economic opportunities analysis, housing needs analysis, and public semi-public analysis. Those are a maybe. Just depends on staff bandwidth to be able to get all of that work done. For sure, on March 10th, you will have the review of the urban renewal plan for conformance with the comprehensive plan. You did this once before in our previous urban renewal proposal. And then we're out into April, and maybe we'll be bringing forward our West End Mill District again. It depends upon staffing and getting all the particular work done. Beyond that, I don't have other things specifically scheduled. We do know that we have a House Bill 458, which relates to middle housing, and that's land divisions. And so by the end of June of 2022, we have to revise our code to do two things: incorporate the expedited land division provisions, which we currently do not have in our code, but it's in state law and we still have to comply. And then the component for House Bill 458, which is expedited land divisions for middle housing. So think of it this way: you have a parent lot, and let's say the parent lot is 8,000 square feet. That with middle housing for duplexes, triplexes, and such, is that you would be able to divide the land so that those units could be separated and on their own separate lots.
Wow.
With easements for all of the utilities. And so communities around the state are working to try to respond to this particular piece of legislation and get that incorporated in their codes. The reason for us is that we are over 25,000. So we are now a large city. So we're 25,375, according to the PSU recent estimate, and that will be finalized on December 15th. We also have a whole bunch of new reporting requirements we need to do because we're over 25,000. So another body of work that we're going to have to integrate into what we do. There is another bill, and it was Senate Bill 8. And I haven't done a lot of evaluation on that one yet, but it is a bill that allows housing on commercial property. And so we're going to have to look at that particular bill. And we already allow, like in our C2 zone, it allows housing, but it has a conditional use. And this particular bill, the way I've read it so far, is that you can allow it by right. So we're going to have to go back and look at our code for that and see what kind of updates we need to do.
And that's any type of housing or just affordable housing?
I'm not clear on that one,
Okay.
Mary.
I thought I remember it was just affordable, but that might be wrong.
It may be. And so if it was affordable, it's 80% of the AMI or MFI, depending on the nomenclature you want to use. And so I've read the bill once, but I need to go over it a couple of times, figure out where we're going to go with that one.
Would that one be addressing situations like commercial businesses below and then residential on top?
That's one concept, or it could be just purely residential.
Oh, okay.
So more work, more things for all of you to consider as we try to put that together.
Would it be in the sense, I'm sorry, Doug, would it be in the sense of residential, like commercial developments, like apartment complexes ran by a property?
I don't know, Commissioner, I don't know all the answers to it yet. Like I said, I've read through the bill once, and I'm going to have to go through it a couple more times. And I'm sure there will be some conversations amongst our colleagues statewide about how does this bill actually work?
Okay. All right. Thank you.
There was another bill that was passed by the legislature that we now have to report on, and that is if we have surplus land, municipalities, counties, and if so, we have to enter that information into a statewide database. And we have to do that by January 1st of 2022. So I had some internal meetings today on that, and we've identified that we do not have any surplus land that the city owns that's not for an essential service. And for us, we look at that essential services: sewer, water, storm, transportation improvements. So more than likely, we will enter into the database 0. Since we also do the planning with the city of Dundee, we've had conversations over the last week on that, and we'll probably enter in 0 for the city of Dundee as well. So just a few things that are kind of behind the scenes that will eventually come in front of you, and you'll get to see all of the numbers, or the data, or the words, or the tables and the graphs, or however it is that we present all of it.
Collected information.
Yeah. So with that, Mr. Chair, that is the items from staff.
Well, I thank you very much, and we'll move on to items from commissioners. Anybody have anything they'd like to bring up?
Nope.
Charles and Jason have been just really quiet tonight.
Only thing I would add is everyone have a Merry Christmas
And a Happy New Year.
and a Happy New Year.
There you go.
I'm definitely putting that one on my list.
All right, with that note, my wife texted me a bit ago and said she liked her keys in her car, so she'll be happy we have a short meeting. She is at her parents' house, so she's at least not outside.
Good news is you've got a spare set and you're on your way.
Mr. Chair, it's a mere 39 degrees. It's not that cold.
No, she's at her parents' house, but yeah. It might even be cold. She said when she went outside to go over there was a little bit of ice on her window already. So chilly. But on that note, if no one else has anything, we'll go ahead and adjourn the December 9th, 2021 meeting of the Newberg Planning Commission. And again,